Welcome to the Beauty Talk Podcast, the podcast where we explore the art, science, and impact of beauty. Brought to you by G Skin and Beauty Institute, your gateway to the future in the beauty industry. We dive deep into stories that inspire and empower. Today, we are super thrilled to have Diana Ortiz. She is a visionary behind The Model Nurse, and she is redefining what it means to thrive in the modeling world, from staying authentic to embracing balance and self-care. Stay tuned as we uncover her journey and advice for aspiring models. Diana, thank you so much for being here today and for making it all the way out here to us.
Yeah, it was quite the journey, but well worth it. Thank you for having me. It is a privilege and an honor to be here with you.
I am so excited to get into this because I feel like even just before we started, we just have so much to talk about and so much empowerment and, you know, little tricks and tips for all of our audience to really just become more into yourself. So I am just thrilled to have you here.
I am thrilled to be here. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So we were talking about one of your brands, right? Mm-hmm. One of your brands, and it's the Modeling Nurse. How did that even come about? How did you come up with the concept?
So the Model Nurse is my Instagram handle, right? And I am a nurse, first and foremost, and I also model. And the way the Model Nurse came about is because when I started my Instagram, it was all modeling stuff. And when I would go to events and people would meet me, nobody knew I was a nurse. And to me, that mattered so much because I worked so hard for that degree, right? And so because I worked so hard for that degree, I was like, I want people to know I'm a nurse who models. Yeah. I don't want people to know I'm a model who nurses a nurse. I was very proud to be a nurse, and I still am. Mm-hmm. And so with that being said, me being a person who loves puns, I was like, ooh, I will be the Model Nurse. So my Instagram handle is the model nurse, because that actual handle was taken. Mm-hmm. So that's where the Model Nurse came about a few years back. But the Model Nurse is like a branch of my actual brand, which is a mental health brand that you're familiar with, which is called Intend and Inspire. That's my actual brand. So the Model Nurse works for Intend and Inspire. At the end of the day, Intend and Inspire is more my purpose. Mm-hmm. And the Model Nurse is just something that I do, that I am. So, yeah.
Yeah, like another platform, let's say, like a branch of your tree.
A branch of my tree.
I love that. Right. I love that. And I love everything. I think that using the puns, it's not only ingenious, right? But it's fun. And I think once people get to know who you are, they're going to understand why this is so fitting for you too.
So fitting.
It's so fitting.
So fitting.
So in the industry that focuses a lot on external appearance and stuff. I can't even talk today, but so in an industry that often focuses on external appearance, how do you stay authentic to yourself, and why do you think authenticity is more important than it ever has been in modeling?
So it's very easy these days to stay authentic to myself, and the reason being is because for a really long time I was not authentic to myself. And when you are not authentic to yourself, you will lose yourself. And losing yourself is one of the scariest things that I've ever experienced, because if I don't know who I am, then I don't know my purpose. I don't know what I want. And living and just existing in this world that's so hard to exist in becomes such a chore. Mm-hmm. So with all that being said, that's I feel like that it's so easy for me now to be authentic now that I know who I am, now that I've done all of the hard work, all of the healing. Because yes, I'm a model, yes, I'm a nurse, but I promise you that before anything, I am a mental health advocate. So I feel like it is so essential to be authentic, to be your truest self in a world that's filled with fakeness. Like, it's exhausting. Mm-hmm. It's so easy to be yourself. But it's hard to be yourself when, one, you don't know who you are, and two, you don't love yourself.
Oh, yes. So, absolutely. I can't wait to dive a little bit deeper into that part. And I think that we're going to be able to highlight, a lot of this in our conversations today, and really talk about why beauty really truly starts from the inside.
Yes.
So with your platform, I know you also emphasize the importance of mental wellness. How do you stay mentally grounded and in such a high pace, high pressure industry? How do you come back to yourself?
So I do that through, if we're talking like, what do you do on a day to day, right?
Yeah.
It looks like waking up first thing in the morning and having my Audible book. Right now, I'm listening to Intentional Living by John Maxwell.
Okay.
And so I have a whole,
things.
I have a whole library of those books. I also have in my work bag, I have a daily affirmation book, and it's called More Languages Letting Go by Melody Beatty. I believe that's how you say it. And at some point or another on my break or at work, if I'm stressed or whatever, it's every day of the year is on there. So I will open it, read a little daily excerpt. Sometimes I put it on my story. Sometimes I post it with my modeling stuff. Even like if you scroll to my photo, like on my photos, like you'll see that. So it looks like stuff like that. It looks like journaling. That's what I do on a day to day to really remain grounded. But at the end of the day, like I have to practice self-love on a day to day. And that also includes like enforcing boundaries, even with myself and with other people. Like that includes the tough love that you and I had spoken on before. Like sometimes that self-love looks like I'm doing this for you because I love you, and letting go of certain things, and people like being so intentional about my environment.
Yeah. And even just saying like, you know, that you absolutely need to work out 3 times a week. That's just respecting yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Respecting
oh, my
yourself
gosh.
enough.
Yes. Like, and the thing is about working out, I started working out because my mental health was being affected. And so that was my outlet. Right. And it's as funny as it sounds because I'm a nurse, like the physical part of it, the physical health part of it was just like, that's like a pro. Like, okay, great. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like working out and the endorphins it releases and all the things, like even that, having that discipline, be like, nope, you're going to the gym. You promised yourself you would, like keeping those promises.
And I think it's just like also just respecting yourself. Self-love, self-care also is respecting your boundaries, respecting the things that you promise to yourself, and then fulfilling them.
Absolutely fulfilling them.
Yeah.
And I think that at first it's hard when you're not used to boundaries, right? It's hard to set and enforce boundaries with others, but it's even harder to do it with yourself because it's easy to like cross your own boundaries. Yeah, like
today, I ate too many hot Cheetos last night. Today I don't want.
What about my hot Cheetos fetish? Yes.
But, you know, it is. It's
my guilty
pleasure. I have a period today. I'm just not feeling it. I'm not going to go to the gym. It's very easy for you to make excuses and not commit or respect yourself enough to do the things that you
definitely
need. Right.
But it's also important. Like we talk about periods. I'm like, girl, day 2 and 3 in my period. Don't nobody talk to me and leave me in my hot Cheetos be.
Yeah.
Like leave me in a dark room. like some days, you know, the pain is, you know, and the girl.
You know what? I actually follow this other girl on Instagram, and she advocates for women in the workforce and how we are, you know, conditioned to work like men, but actually we should work like women because our cycles, you know, dictate so much of that. So
that's right.
It's true.
Period.
It's
taking the day off. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. I'm like, and we can definitely talk, you know, more into that, you know, on future podcasts. But so, and kind of leading into the next question. So many people are very unsure of their purpose and direction and finding direction in life, really. You know, what do you recommend for somebody who's really looking for their purpose or direction in their life? Like, what do you recommend? What are the tools that you've used to find yours?
So when I first started my healing journey, right? Because my trauma dates back to childhood. And that's just the honest truth. And when I first started my healing journey as an adult, and I had to let go of all of the things that I did know because they led me to places that were not conducive for my mental health, for lack of better terms, right? So when I first started my healing journey, I had to start fresh because, like I said, I had to let go of everything I knew, right? Because, again, it led me to bad places. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know my purpose. I didn't know what I want. I didn't know what I wanted out of life. I knew what I didn't want based off of what I experienced, if that makes any sense, right? but I didn't have a purpose. I didn't have a calling. So I have to say that finding your purpose, living in your most authentic self, knowing what you want out of modeling, out of life, out of whatever, it starts with finding yourself and, more importantly, loving yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When you grow up being taught that you should not put you should not put yourself before anyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
You grow up not loving yourself, and we dehumanize ourselves. And if you don't love yourself, I feel like I'm a firm believer, like if you don't love yourself, then you don't really know yourself.
Yeah.
So
and it's hard for you to find your purpose.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and we were talking about this earlier, finding yourself really includes like trying new things, going to therapy, doing the yoga, going out with your girlfriends, respecting your boundaries. Like
Yeah.
that's all part of purpose finding, right?
Yeah,
And
girl.
purpose
Yes.
living.
Yes. And then you end up, it was so, again, when I started my life over again after divorce, I had no identity outside of a wife. I had no identity outside of being a mom. And I had to start dating myself. And I took the salsa classes and the bachata classes. And I took myself on dates. And at first it felt weird. And then eventually people were like, hey, do you want to go to the gym together? Hey, we talked about this? Yes. And I'm like, what do you mean? I have plans. And they're like, with who? I'm like, with me? Like, what do you mean? Then once you love yourself, you're just like, well, I don't need nobody else. Everyone else is an added bonus. You know what I mean? So
yeah. And sometimes it's even just good, like I always say to like even my girlfriends, like take yourself out on a coffee date, even start with something small, because it is so good.
Yeah.
It is so good. And it feels so, so lovely. And another thing too, I've noticed that when you do go out by yourself, you tend to get approached by more people who are interesting, that are also out there by themselves. Mm-hmm. And it kind of opens up your world to things that you would maybe otherwise not be exposed to. Yeah.
You watch people like you watch people fighting. I've been traveling so much in the last year, and when I'm like at the airport, I'm just like, just watching people.
Do you ever make up like scenarios? You're like, oh, that person is probably,
I do that as a nurse. Yeah. I'm like, oh, they're total narcissists. As a mental health advocate, I'm like, oh, wait. Oh, they have alcohol problems. Like I could tell, like as a nurse, like, oh, look at those feet. They're taking way too much sodium. That's a lot of swelling. I do that as a nurse, but I don't make up scenarios, but I'd be nosy. I'd be like, oh, they're fighting. Yeah. Like you can tell if a couple's fighting. Please say my name. What the hell to say. Yeah, but I don't even know how we got to talk about this, but yeah, that'd be me.
Talking about loving yourself and taking yourself out on dates. And that's really just like, the building blocks of finding your purpose. It's really just getting to know yourself deeper and spending some alone time, spending some alone time to really know what your likes, dislikes, and try random things.
Yeah. Go on a trip somewhere too.
Go on a trip. Oh my gosh, that was life-changing. I would have to say, for my own personal journey, taking my first solo trip.
Yeah.
I went to Oaxaca, Mexico, and all by myself. And it was the most empowering trip that I've ever taken in my life. Yeah. And still to this day, I keep those bonds that I made on that trip, because
that's amazing.
It was just so impactful.
That's so amazing. I love that for you.
It was so, so great. So coming back into like the modeling industry.
Diane.
And I know that it could be super daunting, right? There's so many, like society creates all these images in our brain of what a model should be like. So what are the essential like first steps that someone should be taking when they want to become a model, and where can they find like reputable agencies or collaborations? Like, how do you start?
Well, first of all, I will say that society is one heck of a beast, right? But I will say that I love the paradigm shift that society has made when it comes to what a model looks like. Yes. Because we have not only all kinds of different size models, but models even like who have like had special needs or right. And so the whole paradigm has shifted. So models don't look any one particular way. And let me tell you guys, I know I look so tall and my personality is so big, but you already know I'm 5'1" on a good day, right? And
Yeah.
like I've been published. I've had published my work published, so I'm a model, right? And that being said, sky's the limit for anybody. Like honestly, sky's the limit. I mean, obviously I can't do like, actually I have done runway. But
Okay. I mean, because now they have the
I actually done bridal runway actually.
Okay.
So I've done runway, but like obviously I probably wouldn't be like, hey, who knows? Maybe I will be on Fashion Week. Call me.
Yes.
Maybe you never know, right? I mean, sky technically, I didn't say the universe is the limit, but sky's the limit, okay? But I say all that to say, like, if that's something that you really want, go for it. If you don't know where to start, build your portfolio. And I think that that's the wonderful part about Instagram and social media is that you can meet other individuals and build your portfolio. I will say be careful. I will say if you are building your portfolio, make sure that you have a FaceTime call with these photographers. Or if you don't want to give your number, like a Google Meets, a Zoom call, get a feeler, bring a friend, someone with you, someone who's not a tiny little person like you, maybe someone who's bigger, who you feel safe going with. Or ask people that you know who are into modeling if they would recommend any photographers who would want to collaborate with you, or maybe you pay a photographer, whatever it is that you decide you want. And then if you go online, I feel like all you have to do is a Google away like all the reputable agencies. I'm not signed by an agency. You don't have to be signed by an agency to be a model either. We've talked about this, right? All the work I've gotten is because people have seen my platform, they've seen my portfolio, and then they love my personality. They love my personality and they're like, hey, I had this opportunity, not every industry uses agency.
Yeah.
So putting yourself out there on social media and creating a portfolio, if you really want to model, start there.
Yes, I love that advice. And I think it goes back to one of our initial questions, and it's, being authentic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Instagram and Facebook and TikTok now and YouTube even are such a great platform for you just to be yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have to say that I follow your stories just because this woman, listen, you guys, the stories are out of control.
I told you, I don't even remember what I'm like, I posted that.
It's a trip. It's a trip, but she gives you you give us all the daily life, it's the struggles, the triumphs, the crazy long days. I mean, like running back and forth and, taking care of your dog, and your family and yourself and traveling. I mean, this girl is like bi-coastal. She's like all over the place at all times. It's hard to keep up with you, but you can get a feel for her if you follow her stories or on Instagram.
She's everywhere.
Too.
She's all over the place.
Everywhere.
Keep
everywhere.
Up. But you know what? It's funny that you had mentioned like the different avenues you could go, because I struggled with, and a lot of people struggle with this, but a lot of women and women of color struggle with imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
And so when companies have reached out to me, I'd be like, are you sure? I'm like, I'm only 5'1", right? Like, hey, you can walk away now. I'm telling you, I'm short. Yeah. And they're like, no, that's fine. And one time I did like a commercial for Optimum Nutrition, and they had the step stool. I did a BTS of that, like me. Like, I think I even have it as a reel, like me, like you can't see, I'm drinking like this protein shake. Or this pre-workout actually, and I'm on a step stool and I'm standing there like
looking super tall.
Like people don't even know. I'm like, are you sure? I'm literally like a low tiny human. Okay, you know that. There's no take backs. I'm coming. So don't let any sort of what you may perceive as like insecurity or whatever. Don't let it stop you, because it's all projections. Societal projections or
or just like self-talk,
negative
like
self-talk.
the negative self-talk.
But hold on that negative self-talk, I've talked about this before. Okay, you said it's self-talk, negative self-talk. When we're little, we're like, I want to be this when I grow up, I want to be that when I grow up. What happened? Where did that when you have negative self-talk, you got to ask yourself, who's talking?
Yes,
because it's not you. It's not you.
Your voice.
It's not you. It's that toxic ex. Who is projecting things on you, or perhaps your parents who they meant well, because they wanted you to have this maybe cookie cutter type life,
Yeah.
but you deviated from their plan. And so they, the projections and the fears that your parents who love you dearly may have put onto you,
Yes.
like unintentionally. So you have to remember, like, ask yourself, who's saying,
Who is
who's there?
that? And
who's talking?
I am so happy that you even brought this up
Yeah.
because, through growth and stuff,
Mhm.
that's something that I've definitely talked to like my own personal therapist. We all have a journey.
Yeah.
And I remember her, and this is something that changed me so profoundly, is asking myself, who is actually
Yeah.
talking to you?
Who
Because
goes there?
I would never say the things that I say to myself or that I used to say to myself to a friend.
Nope.
Never, ever, ever to my sister. Never. But I would say the craziest things to myself,
Yeah.
and it was never me. So you heard it from the model nurse herself. And this is just to back her up because
That's
this is
right.
something
I
that
am.
truly, truly works. For if you are suffering from imposter syndrome, just remember to ask yourself, who is this voice? Is it my voice, or is it that toxic ex, that
Yeah, the parents, fear, yeah,
the peer, whoever
or
it
maybe a
is?
jealous ex-friend. Also, after we do that, what we're going to do is, once we get to the roots, okay, guys, once we get to the roots of who this is that's speaking, we're going to do the thought replacement. Okay, for every negative thought, we're going to replace it with 2 positive thoughts about ourselves, 2 compliments. And I had to do this to myself, and saying it in my head wasn't enough. I had to like find a mirror in my car, find the mirror and like look myself in the mirror and be like, these are not true. This is the truth. This is you.
Yeah.
So make sure that after it's not just about figuring out where it's coming from. It's also about thought replacement.
Yeah. And solutions, right? We
Yeah.
can't just find the problem. We have to find solutions on how to
No.
overcome that. So
No.
I think that is sensational. I absolutely love that this came out and that we're talking about this, because I know that our audience ranges from young teenagers to older adults. And I hope that this touches all of them.
I hope it resonates with someone, because it's important. I feel like it's important for everyone, but I feel like it's especially important for the youth because they're sponges. And
Yeah.
sometimes, I've talked about this before, sometimes what happens is we're good about teaching. Like, I feel like millennials we're in something right, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I work with kids. So as a nurse, I work with kids and I see all kinds of things, right? And a lot of parents do teach their children about what self-love looks like,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But not enough parents are teaching kids what self-hate looks like. And a lot of children are coming to school with self-loathing parents who don't even like their own kids, okay? And these kids come and they're self-loathing, and it's sad. And then they put things on to other kids who don't fully understand why these kids are being this way, and then they take it on. So it's especially important for kids to understand that when someone says something to you, it doesn't mean that it's true.
Yeah.
It could be someone projecting something that their parent projected onto them, or maybe their uncle or their aunt or whoever, like their sibling, anybody. Like, it's really important to teach our kids about this stuff too.
Yeah. To recognize it all.
Who's saying that? Who goes there?
Yeah.
Who's talking right now? Like, a child should ask themselves, like, where's this thought coming from?
Yes. So my brain is going to all these different places, right? And I wish that we could just stay on that specific topic, because I have like such a sweet spot for children, and I know I do this with my niece, and I'm always giving her empowering and, like telling her how beautiful and great and intelligent and, charismatic she is, and, inquisitive, and I always appreciate her curiosity.
Yeah.
So I hope that this leads you guys to do more, learn more, and practice this with your children. Because
And if you don't have kids, with other people's children.
Yeah, with other
Any
people's
kid you come
children.
across.
Yeah, you could be a positive influence.
Yeah, it could be a
on
total
all the
stranger
people.
that you're complimenting, a little girl that's doing something cute out in public, and you compliment her on something, like, because at the end of the day, maybe that's the only compliment that kid will receive in I don't know how long.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So can you walk us through the process of creating your, social media presence and portfolio? Like, what are the do's and don'ts? Like, how did you get there?
You know what? The only thing I feel like you have to do is just be yourself. Just put yourself out there, be yourself. Don't be inauthentic. Because every person is so different. And all I did was I was myself. My platform is my modeling platform. If you look at it, if you just look at the photos, it's a bunch of pretty modeling photos. If you look at the captions, 99.9% of the time, it's something very inspiring or intense. And because I do that because I want people to remember that behind this beautifully photoshopped image is still a human being who wants to speak life into other people.
Yeah.
Right. And then behind the stories is a video of me eating hot Cheetos or playing with my dog.
Yes.
Or my daughter.
Yes.
Right. Above anything, just be yourself, just like I am being myself right now. Just be yourself and everything else will fall into place. But
So
also find yourself, but also love yourself, because you can't be yourself without all of those other things, right? Like, I don't feel like there's do's and don'ts. My channel be all over the place. I'm just me, as you can tell. Like, I am just me. But I'm sure other people might beg to differ, that they're like, post at these times, do this, do that. And I'm like, nah, just be yourself.
Just be yourself.
Just be yourself.
So we do have to backtrack just a tiny bit. So can we just talk about how you can create a standout portfolio on your social media or on social platforms? Like, what do you recommend for these people to do?
Well, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What stands out about my social media?
I honestly, I think the thing that drew me most to your platform was really your stories, because I am like a stories clicker. I rarely go into somebody's whole profile. I mean, every now and again, if I find something that's attractive in stories, then I'm like, wait, who is this crazy woman? Let me see what she's about.
Diana, it's me. I'm the crazy woman.
She is the crazy woman. And then that's how I got to know more of your work and really what you do, was because I was attracted to something probably funny that you posted
So going back, what was the question again?
So what advice can you give when trying to create a standout portfolio so that agencies can look at you and recognize you?
So if we're talking cookie cutter, right? First of all, I told you I'm not signed by an agency, so I don't know what that's like. But I will say that models have to have like a clean portfolio, and right, you have a digital footprint, so be very careful, right? Like what you put out there, right?
Absolutely.
Now, if you're talking about me and how I became who I became and why I am loved by whoever I am loved by on my platform, again, back to being your authentic self, back to being your truest self. I think that a lot of people, from what I've heard, right? Like I've done a lot of meeting of my followers through my photo walks and traveling a lot this year, right? You know that people love that there's more to me than just poses, that I actually care about people. Like, I want to sit down. I want to get to know. Listen, I had someone inquire about something because I'm going to Vegas in March for some modeling stuff, and they inquired, and they messaged me, hey, I want to possibly shoot with you when you're out in Vegas. This is me. I want to shoot with you when you're out in Vegas. I want to know more details about the event that you're going to be hosting. Can you give me more details? I'm flying in from Alaska to Vegas, so I just want to make sure that this is something that aligns with what I do. The first thing I saw was, I'm from Alaska. I wanted to ask them questions. I didn't even care that they wanted to come to my thing. I was like, you're from Alaska? I was like, tell me more about yourself. Like, I like getting to know people. I am like nosy little Puerto Rican girl, but like, because it's so intriguing, and perhaps it dates back. I mean, I've always liked to know about people, but like, when I decided to go into nursing, I was working at a nursing home. I was working with the elderly. And if you just sit down and listen, they have stories to tell.
Yes.
I have a soft spot for geriatrics, for the elderly. And so I love hearing about people and their journey and their story. And I wanted to ask this person. And it took everything in me not to. It'd be funny if they see this. It took everything in me not to be like, hey, so tell me more about Alaska. What's the weather like over there? So all that to say, like, I don't really know exactly what to I just feel like we live in a world, like, even if you want to model, you want to be a model, people want to know about you as a person.
Yeah. So
People
we're
want to
just
know that
saying,
like just be yourself,
just stand
be
out,
authentic.
be
Yeah.
yourself, do what you want, show your
Yeah.
true self.
But
And
again, back to what I keep saying, in order to be yourself, you have to prioritize loving yourself.
loving yourself.
You have to be gentle with yourself. You have to get rid of the parts of you that don't serve you, that are self-sabotage, that are toxic. We all have toxic traits. You know, we all.
Yeah.
So it all goes back to mental health.
Mental health. And I think this is going to kind of lead into our other question, and this may be the exact same answer, but there's so many different categories, right, of modeling. There's runway, commercial, there's Instagram, there's all of these different types of modeling. How do you know? How do you pick, or how do you know which area you should go into if you're trying to get into this field?
I mean, some people, they just know, right? They just know. You can try out different things and see what you like and what works for you. Some people just know. And even me, I feel like I like all of it. I like all of it. The only thing that I probably would not do is probably the stuff that is like
Centerfold nude, full frontal.
right. And you know,
don't
no,
wanna
no
be
shame.
like the first lady.
You know, the human body is beautiful, but like me, I probably I don't know if I would ever like do that, right?
Do
but like
that, yeah.
I do not listen. If you want to do it, let me see your work of art. I will support you, you know, all the things again. So I feel like for the most part, people, you try different things, you figure out what you love the most, and then
whatever
you do
feels
it.
the best,
Yeah, whatever
right?
feels the best, whatever you feel the most empowered in, whatever you feel like suits you the most. Some people, they can do it, all of it. And so I think that you have to just try different things to figure out what it is that you like.
Absolutely. So there's different ways of preparing for these types of roles. Like, are there any recommendations on posing, on walking? Like, what do you suggest? Are we just YouTubing this?
Oh
or
my
are you
God.
going somewhere? Like, how,
So-
angles, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I know this is one of my questions. Like, how do you know your angles? How do you even know?
So knowing your angles, that takes practice. That takes looking at yourself in the mirror. And I feel like, you know what, let me tell you something. And I know we do this a lot, and I've been practicing for the last couple of years, not doing it. But it's hard not to. But when we look at ourselves, when you take a picture with all your friends, what's the first thing you do when y'all look at the
Zoom
photo?
in
And you look at yourself, and you zoom into your insecurities, to your imperfections right away. And when you look in the mirror, like, I know that this side of my face, my smile line is more prominent than this side.
Okay.
I don't know about you.
Yeah.
But I know about me, right? And so when you do these things, you slowly tear yourself apart. So yes, knowing your good angles and your good side is great, but also like remembering that, first of all, you're human, and you have to come in this confidently and stop tearing yourself apart. Because let me tell you, these cameras, these cameras,
Listen, with the high
Photoshop,
definition, and
I know. Oh my God.
it is.
I'm like, my circles are not that dark for real, guys.
I know.
Like, yeah, like, so these cameras are brutal.
They magnify everything.
So
absolutely.
confidence is key, but like, just like being gentle with yourself is key, first of all. So there's that. Let's just start with that, because again, I'm a mental health advocate. So I wouldn't be me if I didn't say, like, if you're going into modeling, yeah, posing is good, knowing your angles is good, but also knowing to be gentle and loving with yourself is also good. Do you know how many times I've done photo shoots and then they send me the photos and I'm like, oh no, I hate these. And then 3 months later, I'm like, oh, I look so pretty.
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm posting this, and people are like, you took that 6 months ago. Your hair's not even black anymore. And I'm like, nope, but I look pretty.
But now
Today I look pretty, but a few months, I do it to myself too, right? Like, when you have to look at yourself so much, and you have to, you're doing modeling, like, your self-esteem can really go like just shred by shred, like. So you have to make sure that you have that confidence. Now, we're talking about just like posing, soft and subtle movements.
Okay.
So, and I always ask the photographers, is this like a portrait shot? Is this a full body shot? Because like, I don't want to put all my energy in like posing my whole body and it's like a headshot. Like, tell me what kind of shot this is. Yeah. And then, I'll work that area. So I always ask photographers, what is that? Like, what are we working? What are we working on? And then the soft and subtle movements. So if I'm like, we're doing headshots, going like this, mira, go like this,
Uh-huh.
and then putting like maybe one hand here,
Uh-huh.
but no, you're too stiff.
Okay.
Again, like this, yep. And then like gentle, like a little angel, in slow movements. Yeah, look how pretty she looks. Mira, zoom in. Yeah, like soft, gentle,
Angelic.
gentle hands. Yep, gentle hands. Like that, bam, bam, and slow moves. Yep, there you
I've
go.
seen you do this.
Yes.
I've seen the behind the scenes
Yes.
where you're just like tick, tick.
Yeah, it's like a clack, like
Yeah.
tick, 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 like bam, bam, bam. Hey. So the soft, subtle movements, and then the hands being stiff is like how you can tell usually when someone is like a beginner, because they're so nervous that they're just like,
everything's stiff.
yeah,
Your
like
smile,
your
your look.
just relax. Mira, I see, and that's why I'd say go like this.
Goosey, goosey.
Yeah, sometimes even my face becomes stiff after a while, and I have to. I don't want to do it on camera, but I have to do these like face exercises eventually because I feel like my face is so stuck and stiff, like on one like
Pose.
and I'm like, I don't want to do it because y'all gonna have a freeze frame of me like making these like crazy facial expressions like mid shoots. I'll do that. I'd be like, nobody look.
So look up some facial exercises and how to unwind. I mean, just like singers and other professional artists, you know, they have exercises that they do before they go out and perform. So look at yourself as a performer.
Yeah. And if you have a good site, that's fine. Like I'm not saying like, and I'm not saying like, oh, just be confident and like all your photos no matter what. Like, no, tell the photographer this is my good side. And again, like practice your angles because
and
you
be confident.
Yeah.
In saying that.
Yeah. Because I know my angles. I'm sure I can't do what a tall model can do. Like I can't do some of these hunched over poses, you know, like this will happen like like I had to be very with. There's not a lot of inventory here. So I have to like elongate.
For sure.
I'm like, go down lower. What are you doing? I hate when people go from the top and I'm like, don't you dare take that picture. I'm already sure. Don't you dare take that picture of me. Come from the bottom.
Come from the bottom. So know all the angles and then, well, not only the angles, but know yourself well enough to know and direct, right? Yeah. And don't be afraid to advocate for yourself because if you don't advocate for yourself, nobody else will. So in your industry, you know, building a strong reputation is so essential. How do you feel or what things and habits and practices do you feel that have helped you building your reputation and creating a long-lasting career?
What reputation do I have? I don't even know. I don't even be paying attention.
No, what is your reputation?
I don't know. She's asking me hard questions, guys. I'm like, what is my? I literally just be walking around like a little butterfly, like flying around, like just living my life. Like I don't even know what my reputation is. I just am. Again, I just am me, and maybe you don't like that, and that's okay.
But definitely. Would you say like maybe even just being respectful, polite, considerate, or is there anything that you would focus on, like to always be thankful, you know, to the crew or being? I
just be nosy. I just want to know about people and then I want to help them. That's just me. I'm like, that's just who I am. I think, and again, that's what I'm known for, right? Like I'm a very caring person. And I hate how much I care because sometimes it's to like a fault, right?
It is, yeah.
And so that's just, I think that when I feel like I'm answering every question with the same thing and I'm sorry, but it's just the truth. It's like when you are just being yourself and like, I don't have a reputation to uphold or to, you know what I mean? Because I'm just me.
Yeah.
That's my reputation is based off of just me being me. And being kind and I guess, being kind and loving and courteous, but also, again, it starts with you. You got to be kind to yourself.
Okay. And so now also, I mean, we're all so different, right? We're all so different and we all come in different shapes and sizes. And then now you're saying that, and we're seeing this everywhere in commercials, in magazines, in social media, that the scene, the modeling scene is changing. How do you think that people who have a very unique style or unique body or different body or whatever, how can they leverage their own uniqueness?
You're going to be mad, but it goes back to your uniqueness is not only based on how you look, it's based on who you are.
Yeah.
100% who you are. So that's how you leverage it. Because again, the deals that I have gotten, the gigs that I have gotten, there are people who work in the industry and they're like, oh, we need to fill this slot in Chicago. And they're like, the model nurse. And they love me and they know me, not for my photos as much as for who I am. Like, that's just
And for
a
other people
bonus.
that work with you and stuff, right? So
I get not really like the actual gigs, the commercial gigs, none of them have known each other that I've gotten. It wasn't like a person who knew a person. They've not known each other. There's just completely separate people who got to know me and they're like, I like you. I got something for you.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's how you leverage it. Like yes, owning whatever it is about your body, the confidence. Again, the confidence can't come without love and the growth and the spirituality, like getting in tune with who you are, your core, all those things. You know what I mean? Like it's important to be confident about your physical, but just being confident about who you are and then don't be afraid to show people who you are.
Yeah.
Like just be you.
So now after these places or these different companies reach out to you and say, hey, we want you to do this work. Let's talk about money, because I know, ladies, we're not trying to get into modeling and not get paid, right?
Yeah.
So what do you recommend in the negotiation process? Like what are your recommendations? I don't even know what that looks like, so I don't know all the specific questions to ask in that regard.
So I will start off by saying that as a beginner or someone who doesn't have if you don't have a hefty resume, like there's nothing wrong with doing stuff like with other companies that maybe don't have the funds to pay you, but they have other things to offer you for collaboration purposes, right? Because people will know people, right? And I have not gotten gigs that way, but I have gotten event spaces for my mental health events through collaborations.
Yes.
Through people who've known people. And that still saves me money, right? Because I host mental health events apart from like the ones that I host for creatives. I held one last month in light of Women's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. There's nothing wrong with doing collaborations, but eventually when your profile is hefty and beefy, I will say it just honestly depends on their funding, what they're offering you, what you feel like it's worth. I've passed on deals that I was just like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And for me, it's because it's not like it's not so much that I'm like, oh, I'm too good for this. Not like that at all. Because I don't think that I'm above anything or anyone. But it's more so like, okay, if I do this, I have to forfeit time with my child. I have to forfeit perhaps time at my day job. I have to forfeit. I have to take time. Time is expensive, and that's not something I mess with or play with. Is this really worth my time?
Is it really worth your time? And does it align with you, right?
Yes.
We go back to your purpose. And so maybe the financial is not the driver here.
Absolutely. I've declined like being flown out in workshops and modeling for workshops and stuff like that because I took a look at the company or the brand, some of it is like photographers who have a brand, their business. I've taken a look at what they put out there and I'm like, this doesn't align. What they're doing, what they're posting, it doesn't align with it. It's not what I want to represent for myself. And that's okay. It's not to say that they're bad and I'm good and I'm better than the rest. I'm just like, this doesn't align with me.
Maybe you align in a future project that they're involved with. It's not a no, absolutely. But
for some of these it is, girl. I'll be like, no. Like, not what is it like that movie Step Brothers? Never, not even if there's a fire. When he's like, never, not gonna call him dad, not even if there's a fire. Probably y'all know.
Well, that's super exciting. So, and I'm just so happy to have had you here on the podcast today. And thank you so much for your insight. I mean, I hope that there was a little tidbits in the story and in all the questions. I know we really came back to really just loving yourself and knowing yourself. But all of that is to say that really that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Beauty starts from within.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to get into the modeling career, just know to be your authentic and more purest self, and everything else will align. The brand deals, the photo shoots, the collaborations, it'll all
Absolutely.
come together.
Yes,
And everybody
absolutely.
has something that's different to offer. So
Yeah.
I thank you so much. And
Thank
I
you.
love that you're an advocate for not only young children, but for grown ass women just like me and
Yeah.
like everybody else here. Beauty starts.
Yes.
So anybody who's trying to get into the modeling industry, you know it here. Start within yourself. And I just want to thank you for joining us on this episode of Beauty Talk Podcast. And a
Thank
huge
you.
thanks to you, Diana, the modeling nurse, for being on here and for sharing all of your journey and your insights. This episode was made possible by G Skin and Beauty Institute, where passion and purpose in the world of beauty. So don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and follow us for more inspiring stories. And until next time, take care and keep chasing your dreams.
You can breathe.